right now, and our president is shitposting while the vice president is screaming, whining, complaining, and trying to blame Democrats, shift the narrative and say that we're responsible for a potential government shutdown while Republicans, by the way, control everything in Washington the last time I checked. This narrative that Vance is trying to push is so embarrassing for him, but somehow not as embarrassing as what Gavin Newsom just shared in response to JD Vance's lies, a little secret from his dark past that is humiliating tonight as his argument collapses and possibly Donald Trump's term ahead of this shutdown. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into JD Vance's meltdown and how Gavin Newsom is humiliating him with a great response, I want to start with what we need to know as the breaking update around this shutdown that we got from Eric Swalwell, who summarized this situation so perfectly.
Well, I don't want to fund this government as is. And so that's what's really on the line here. This government is not killing cancer. It's killing cancer research. This government is not lowering your healthcare costs. It's increasing it as people go in to open enrollment.
But you're having a short-term, long-term problem. You're having a short-term, this is kind of a short-term, long-term conversation. Long-term, many Democrats would agree with what you're saying right there. Short-term, your option is, as we get to this every time, and I've covered these for, I don't know, I feel like I'm a million years old at this point, it's either coming down to you're facing at this moment, you're either going to fund the government as is, talk about the healthcare subsidies later, or the government's going to be shut down. Which option are you most comfortable with?
I'm not comfortable with this Republican tyrannical government. So I'm not co-signing on that, Kate, and I don't think anyone should. Now, if they are, going to, as I said, change their deportation policy and not get rid of innocent Americans who are contributing to our economy, if they're going to lower health care costs and not get rid of the subsidies and Medicare cuts that they put in place, and if they are going to, as I referred to earlier, put back in place cancer research, as 40% of Americans are going to find out this year that they have a cancer diagnosis, I would sign off on that. But why would we want to continue to be, co-signees on this madness that is hurting our friends and neighbors and making us look less and less like America? This is a Republican-run government. They have the White House, the House, and the Senate. They've had
Donald Trump's job is the chief executive of the United States. And right now, and throughout his entire term, he has not executed on the laws that Congress has passed. Donald Trump is not following appropriations as should be done by the law. Donald Trump doesn't actually give a shit what Congress tells him to do, and most of the time, he's telling Congress what to do because John Thune and Mike Johnson don't have backbones. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to give Donald Trump another bag of cash for him to say, well, first let me take some and put in my pockets, and then let me do with it as I please. That doesn't make any sense. If Donald Trump is just going to continue to break the laws, why pass them for him to do so? Let's make him feel some pain, and let's make it very clear that we will not negotiate with the White House that is going to use this as an opportunity to strip millions of people of their health care. And that is an argument that JD Vance refuses to engage in and actually is trying to say the opposite in his little meltdown right here that Gavin Newsom ended up responding to.
But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make
JD Vance and all of MAGA knows that they can't win on the issue of health care. Donald Trump is going to be stripping coverage away from tens of millions of Americans. There's no amount of meltdowns on Truth Social, distractions, and look over here and look over there that's going to work for them. JD Vance knows this, right? He sounds stupid and he acts like it, but sometimes he's not. He does understand this much. So they're spinning up the narrative that, that they want the money for illegals. That's just not true. Of course, Democrats want everyone in America to have health care, as is a basic human right. But Vance is trying to twist this narrative. It is just not working for him because it's so blatantly false. but also because Democrats like Gavin Newsom are hitting back, not just on that lie, but a different freak out that MAGA is having. I want to take a look at both posts, and then we'll explain it. The White House Rapid Response account said that Democrats want to give $1.5 trillion, including taxpayer-funded free health care for illegals, away. And of course, Governor Newsom had to shoot down that nonsense, writing false. The vice president isn't being honest. The White House's response when Democrats asked to keep existing health care for Americans, "Go F yourself." Actual quote to Politico. And that was not the only trolling we saw of the vice president, because while MAGA is freaking out over the incredibly popular and fantastic artist Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl, Gavin Newsom had a little fun with JD Vance, writing, "I'm boycotting the Super Bowl because Bad Bunny dressed in drag," with a photo of Vance from college with a little interesting garment situation going on. So if you are unfamiliar with the current crisis happening within MAGA, I wish I was as offline as you are, so congratulations. But Bad Bunny is a Latin pop star, one of the best artists out there, maybe the biggest artist in the world right now, and he is going to be headlining the Super Bowl halftime show. This was announced the other night. This is a huge deal. If you're the NFL, it's a really smart business move because it's going to get you a bigger audience for the biggest night of the year for the NFL. Now, Bad Bunny is an incredible artist, and in lots of his music videos, he has experimented with different, breaking different gender norms and just like having fun in the way that he performs. And so once in a while, he's thrown on a dress. He's done a little this and that, something different in his videos, and it drives MAGA crazy because they don't like to see anything that makes them confused or question themselves. Lindsey Graham, I'm looking at you over there. And Bad Bunny is just an incredible artist making great art. But MAGA, not just because of that, but also because, of course, he's brown, and so that really explodes their minds, is freaking out and saying that they're going to boycott the NFL and that they're going to boycott the Super Bowl, and we got to cancel this because of, guess, cancel culture is back for MAGA because we're canceling Jimmy Kimmel, we're canceling Stephen Colbert, and now we're canceling the NFL. I really can't keep up with what these guys hate, but it's just so funny for Newsom to bring that photo back up, which of course reemerged the Vance on the campaign trail, because it just highlights a couple of things for me. One, the hypocrisy of MAGA that is so ever present in everything that they do, but really just how far JD Vance has come. There's nothing wrong with playing a little dress up and having some fun and throwing on a wig if you're at a college party or like anytime. You just kind of do whatever you want. I don't know. Go do what you like. Wear what you want. Be comfortable in your own skin. I really don't give a fuck. And neither did JD Vance at that time, until it became politically expedient for him to care, and for that to be all that he cares about, and to make a big stink out of it. Because JD Vance, in that photo, is wearing a costume, but the real costume of JD Vance is the skin that he wears today, the beard, literally and figuratively, that he covers himself with. JD Vance is a different guy. JD Vance has changed his name 4 times. JD Vance has switched religion, I think, 3 times. JD Vance has switched around how he prefers to identify his sexuality. I believe JD Vance is just a chameleon who is after power and climbing a ladder, and it's embarrassing. He is an embarrassment. JD Vance, you stand for nothing. You're a whatever comes out of Donald Trump's ears, which is pudding. You're a big bowl of Trump ear pudding, which I guess is what maybe he likes to be. He wants to be the little pudding of the deer leader. I don't know, but it's a sad life for JD Vance. And I was thinking about this today. When JD Vance eventually does get and then lose, which he might not even get, but when he loses in some form in the 2028 election, whether it be the primary or the general, what is he going to do? I would love to just have a documentary crew follow JD Vance around after that loss and see him trying to grapple with what his life is, that there is no real purpose, that JD doesn't have anything that he holds dear, that there's nothing he really wants to accomplish because power is out of his reach now, and so he's just left to fend for himself and kind of figure out what meaning he has, which is none. And I'm going to enjoy and relish in that because JD Vance is a terrible fucking person, and I despise him, and he despises himself. So really look forward to you working that out, JD. Well, in the meantime, I guess you're going to be attacking the rest of us. And we started with Eric Swalwell calling out the attacks from the Republican Party. I want to finish one of those when he called out Donald Trump's attack on James Comey.
Donald Trump seems hell-bent on not going after the physical threats to you and to your viewers, but rather going after his perceived political opponents. So I don't want to set aside because it's not who we are as a democracy. I mean, he is weaponizing the Department of Justice, going after his political enemies. But what does it mean to everyday Americans? We're seeing an escalation of mass shootings again. Obviously, we had the Kirk assassination and a political assassination on an ICE facility last week, shootings over the weekend in North Carolina and Michigan. And so if law enforcement is pulled off the case to work on the president's political opponents, what does that mean for the rest of us? That's what concerns me. And then Kate, just as the senior Democrat overseeing the January 6th committee, what is being put out there and what Donald Trump is trying to tell people is not what happened. FBI agents, of course they responded to January 6th, just like every other law enforcement agency was asked to respond that day. They weren't there ahead of time. They responded to do their jobs. And so we're not going to let him erase the heroism of every officer that showed up on January 6th.
When you say you're not going to let them, I also heard in relation to, this was James Comey, you say last week that your committee, Judiciary, has the power to step in and kind of stop some of this. But how, Congressman, especially being in the minority?
Well, first, we are making it clear that we're going into the majority a year from now. We have every intention to do that. And so we will bring oversight, accountability. We will subpoena the Department of Justice, but also private actors who have done these drug deals with the administration, college campuses, entertainment companies, law firms. And so accountability is coming. And so one, it's all coming out. Two, I hope that deters people from doing more of these deals, these one-offs with the president. One other point, though, on Comey, Kate, this happened when Donald Trump was president. So if you're trying to tell me this is not politically motivated, the statement that they're referring to where he allegedly lied, Donald Trump was president. So why didn't you indict him then? The fact that he's indicting him now just makes it look even more politically motivated. And so I'm pretty confident that this will either be dismissed or Mr. Comey will be acquitted by a jury of his peers.
Once again, talk about cancel culture. These people are hypocrites constantly. There's nothing that grounds them. They really do have no values. And we are going to continue to point that out, of course, on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to support the show in another way, you can become a free or paid subscriber to my Substack, linked here or down below. It's a great way to support the show. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.